It's been stolen. Ah, that's okay. We go to R.J. Cristoforo's stationary power tools. A lot of the stuff that R.J. was an old master of woodworking writing. He's deceased now, and woodworking is poorer for it. I edited some of his books. He was an outstanding writer, and just as kind and as sharing. He helped me write my first books. But anyway, RJ in Stationary Power Tools, which is still in print, by the way, which gives you an idea how good it is, wrote Power Tool Woodworking for Everyone, which is also still in print, which gives you a good idea of how good it is. And in these here we go, 289, 36, 89. In here, he talks about compound miters, and he gives you a chart. And it's a chart that I've used for a lot of my life to do these compound miters. Here we go. This very same chart, there it is. It's on page 36 of Stationary Power Tools. I believe it's on page 191 or 192 of Power Tool Woodworking for Everyone. But here is the chart that you may have to refer to. Later on, I became familiar with the trigonometry needed to figure out these angles for myself, and I've put that into a little program, an Excel spreadsheet that I've shared with you. You can download it right there from the blackboard if you want. Just plug in the slope that you want, and the slope, by the way, is measured off vertical. Okay, this would be a slope of 0 degrees. If the wood is tilted 10 degrees like that, that's a slope of 10, 30, 45, 60, so on. So just plug in the slope that you want and the number of sides, and it'll spit the angles out at you. Why do you need 2 angles? Okay, good question. Let's define a compound miter. All right. This here, this joint right there, where these 2 pieces of cove molding come together, is a compound miter. Both the table is tilted and the miter gauge is tilted. When you make it, you need the angle of the miter gauge and the angle of the table tilt. When they come together, the angle of the joint angle on this one is 60 degrees. The bevel angle, okay, or the miter angle, is 30 degrees. These things are cut to 30 degrees, but they're not cut on angles anywhere close to that. You have to do some trig to figure out what the table tilt is and what the miter gauge is, or you have to go to RJ's charts or my Excel spreadsheet. All of those will get you the answer that you want, and help set the angles. Now on the diamond the diamond-shaped shadow box, I've got the angles that you need right there on the project plan, so you don't have to look them up if you want to make this nightmare. But at any rate, the compound miters produce a beautiful effect when you make shadow boxes and moldings, but they can be somewhat difficult to do. Now, I've already shown you how to tilt the table using our little Wixie mount and the Wixie gauge. Let's talk about how to how to angle the miter gauge. Let me dismount. We're going to have to work. We're going to have to work off camera here for a minute to get the cameras situated. I'm dismounting. Train the camera over here. Hi guys. I'm dismounting the extension from the miter gauge and getting rid of some of the flotsam and jetsam here that has accumulated on the workbench. My workbenches, like all workbenches in woodworking, seem to go towards chaos much faster than the rest of the universe. Okay, what?
We've lost connection to our server. So, I'm going to stop this. Start.
Okay, I'm gonna get a drink while you're doing that.
You gonna get you some water?
Yeah, it's in the refrigerator out there.
First refrigerator, second refrigerator, or third?
The first refrigerator as you go through the door.
I got notes out of first.
So I have to rechange the archiving name. Okay, we're going to think about that for way too fucking long. Start it up again.
Sit right here.
All right, you're on.
Okay. All right, we're back to it here. Sorry about that, guys. We lost our connection to the server. So let's pick up from where we left off. I was talking about angling the miter gauge. Now I'm going to leave the table where it is. The table is, you watch me set the table to 30 degrees, and I'm going to leave it where it is, and I'm going to set this miter gauge to 54 3/4. A 30 degree tilt on the table and a tilt on the miter gauge of 54 3/4 will give me a 45 degree miter. In other words, if we look down at the wood, they will be joined like this with a 90 degree joint angle or a 45 degree miter angle. But the work will be sloped at 30 degrees. Okay? Or I'm sorry, 45 degrees. It will be sloped at 45. This is sloped at 45. That'll give you an idea of what a 45 degree slope looks like. So I'm going to take the miter gauge, and first of all, I'm going to check that it is square. My engineer square here. Put this against the bar and on the face, and I can see I need a little bit of an adjustment. And there we go. Now I've squared up the miter gauge using the engineer square. It's on 0. Now I'm going to show you how to use the Wixie, but you don't necessarily need a Wixie to do this. This can also be done. This is a protractor. Right here. This is if you get a good combination square set, it should come with this protractor, as well as a divider and the combination square head itself. If I set this, and this has nice little 1 degree scales, I can set this to, let's see, I need to set it to 54 3/4. So there's 90. 60, 50, there's 55, 54 3/4. You just have to estimate when you're putting it. Can be accurate to a degree mark, but that's about. At this point, I can then take the miter gauge, loosen the knob, and then there we go. You have to. It's a little hard. No, I gotta do it the other way. There we go. Sooner or later, you figure out exactly how to tilt this thing and get the. But anyway, there. That would be 54 3/4 degrees done using a protractor. Now, using the Wixie, let me go back to our 90 degrees. And we're going to clamp this in a vise here. And it doesn't matter whether or not this is horizontal. Going to take our little Wixie mount and fasten that to the miter gauge face, since the miter gauge is made out of aluminum and otherwise the Wixie will drop off. Turn the Wixie on, stick it to the gauge, okay, zero it out. Now, we need 54 3/4. Now, because the Wixie is set on 0 and not 90, I'm going to have to subtract 54 from 90. Let's see, that would be 54 3/4 subtracted from 90 is what? 35 1/4? I believe so. All right, 35. That's 35.6, 35.7. Oh, a little too far. There we go, 35.7, 35.8. I'll be happy with 35.8. Tighten that down. And there you go. I could have also used the inclinometer in exactly the same way. Now, let's go back to the table over here. The table is set to 30. The miter gauge is set to 54 3/4. We have an extension in place. Okay. I'm going to cut the downhill angles, or the downhill sides first. Now, Now we're going to use all of the jigs that I have shown you. This one. Oh, no wonder it's not going down anymore. There we go. Now, if you only need a little bit of this, I only have a little bit of wood hanging over on this side of the blade, so I'm only going to be able to use one clamp. And I want to show you something. These clamps are mounted here, so that one of them will go forward from the end, and the other one comes over from the side. See that? There we go. All right. That gives you a much wider range of clamping possibilities. I need the one that comes in from the end over on the left side, and or towards the side closest to me. And I'm not going to be using this one at all, so I'm just going to sit this over to the side right now. Clamp that in place, and there we go. Now let me sight, and it looks good. Looks like I won't this won't interfere with the riving knife. And remember, our pawls are taped up. Riving knife is in place. We're not working with the saw guard, so we have to be extra special careful. Okay. And of course, we don't have to be careful yet because we haven't got the thing plugged in.
That's super safe.
Yeah. Okay. All right, we ready? I think so. And that is a compound miter. Now I'm going to set this aside, and I'm going to make the same cut on this board. Now this will not be the adjoining miter. I'm going to make the adjoining miter in a minute. I need to cut two boards, and I want to show you something important about making a compound miter. Now, if I were doing this for real, and I was making four sides, I would cut all four of the downhill miters, because when you make the adjoining miter cuts, you have to switch position of the miter gauge. You have to take the miter gauge and put it in the uphill slot, like this. Now, obviously, you cannot continue with this, or you'll cut this in two. So I am going to take this off here, and move it over here. To this side. Now I've got it on the uphill side, and you begin to understand why I set up this table with outboard auxiliary tables on both sides. There we go. That'll work, and it's not going to interfere with the riving knife. Okay? Now, The cut I made was like this. Okay, this was the position that the board was in. I'm going to cut this side, but I'm going to flip this board edge for edge. That's important. All right, let's do that again from another angle. Board was like this. Okay, that's what it was, how it was cut. To cut the adjoining miter, I take it up here and flip it edge for edge. Now, I don't have to use a sliding table down here if I don't want to. In this case, gravity is my friend. Gravity will take this and take the piece, and it will fall right off where Libby can chew it up. Your friend too, isn't it? Yes, yes. All right, so here we go. All right, back to me. Okay, here are our adjoining miters. Okay, if I put these together on this table like that, the boards are joined at about a 90 degrees, and they're sloped at 45. Let me do it standing up. You may be able to see it a little better. There you go. Okay? That cool? And that is how you make that is how you make a compound miter. Okay?
Lollipop.
All right. Now, if there are any questions, let me know now. Have you got any questions about compound miters?
What breed of dog is Lily?
What breed of dog is Lily? Okay, Liberty. It's not Lily, it's Liberty. Liberty was born on the 4th of July, and she is a purebred border collie that I got from Buckeye Border Collie. She's a rescue dog. So, and one of the sweetest dogs I've ever owned, and as you can see, has a lot of fiber in her diet. So, any others?
What species of wood are your favorite for making jig? I said American ply.
Yeah, Baltic birch. Baltic ply is good. I like MDF if it's not structural. The jigs that you see here we made out of Baltic birch. I like Baltic birch usually because it stays nice and flat and it's very strong. I have to tell you though that this year's crop of Baltic birch is not up to snuff. It was a very warm winter in Siberia and the northern reaches of Norway, and where they get the birch for this particular wood, and the logging trucks couldn't get in. So we're working with seconds and worse on making the Baltic birch right now, and it's not staying as flat as I'd like it to. So you have to, if you're going to use it for jig making, you really have to pick your pieces. That it? Is that the questions? Okay. All right. For all you out there, let me remind you that tomorrow is a Mother's Day. If you are not a mother yourself, you probably have one. If you would, wish her a happy Mother's Day from me. In the meantime, remember, measure twice, cut once, and brush off 3 times before you go back into the house. We'll see you. Bye.